Next on Special Report, a letter from Al-Qaeda's #2 man suggests the terror network has serious problems and is not happy the way its man in Iraq is doing things. In Iraq, further compromises to help the draft constitution pass this weekend. The president says the White House told people about Harriet Miers' religion because it's part of who she is, not so much to convince them she'd vote the right way. Plus, we'll update those two investigations, the one into alleged White House leaks and the one on Tom DeLay. All that after the other headlines from the Fox desk in New York.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia. The Senate Judiciary Committee has questions for Harriet Miers. Members sending a 12-page questionnaire to the Supreme Court nominee. Among the questions, whether Miers gave any assurances on how she would vote on court cases and how she would handle cases brought by the Bush administration since she was the president's counsel. Homeowners who didn't like their heating bills last year are really going to hate them this year. The Energy Department predicting natural gas prices are going to run 60% higher than last year. Fuel oil prices shooting up at least by a third. But you'll only pay 5% more this winter if you heat your home with electricity. And people who lived in New Orleans' poorest neighborhoods returning home briefly Wednesday to see the damage that Hurricanes Katrina and Rita have done. A few dozen people from the city's 9th Ward inspecting their homes. Now, except for those in the northernmost section, which is still closed and unsafe, more than 22,000 victims still remain in shelters. One person is dead, 11 others injured after an apparent natural gas explosion in Missouri. It happened at a construction site where a pork processing plant is going up. Police say a welding torch may have ignited the explosion, the blast creating a huge hole in the roof. Well, more headlines coming your way at the bottom of the hour. I'm Donna Fiducia. Special Report with Brit Hume starts right now. And for all the latest headlines, log on to our website. It's easy at foxnews.com. You're watching the most powerful name in news.
Welcome to Washington. I'm Brit Hume. There are indications tonight that life has become difficult for top Al-Qaeda leaders and that they are not pleased with the way things are going in Iraq. At the same time, the Iraqi parliament appears to have made a significant breakthrough in its efforts to win approval of the new Iraqi constitution. Fox News Pentagon correspondent Brett Baer reports.
In a last-minute compromise, Iraq's parliament agreed to proposed amendments to the country's draft constitution, intended to please Sunnis just 3 days before a nationwide vote on the document. A move that would establish a way for Sunnis to address long-standing concerns and make changes to the constitution after it's approved. A move welcomed at the State Department.
This is certainly a positive development. It shows, frankly, that the political process in Iraq is working.
After the deal, several Sunni leaders encouraged their population to vote yes on the Constitution, but violence continued across the country. U.S. commanders say it was a clear effort by terrorists to thwart turnout. Today's suicide bombings left more than 40 Iraqis dead. Bombings discouraged in a just-released letter intercepted by U.S. forces this summer from Al-Qaeda's #2 man, Ayman al-Zawahiri, to Iraq's top terrorist, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. In the 12-page letter, Zawahiri urges Zarqawi to reconsider his war on Shiites and his use of beheadings and taped executions, saying, quote, "The strongest weapon Al-Qaeda has is the popular support from the Muslim masses in Iraq and the surrounding Muslim countries. We must maintain this support as best we can and strive to increase it." Zawahiri also details problems the network is having, writing that the real danger is from the Pakistani army that is carrying out operations in the tribal areas of Pakistan, hunting for Al-Qaeda members. And at one point in the letter, Zawahiri asks Zarqawi, his lieutenant, for money, saying the financial lines have been severed by U.S. operations. Quote, "Many of the lines have been cut off. Because of this, we need a payment while new lines are being opened. So if you're capable of sending a payment of approximately $100,000, we'll be very grateful to you." U.S. intelligence officials say the letter depicts an Al-Qaeda organization that is trying to survive and a network that has different ideas about how to set up an Islamic authority or caliphate across the Middle East, starting in Iraq.
Zarqawi's strategy has been to turn the local population against the American coalition by creating all this chaos and beheadings and hostage-taking, and it hasn't worked. And his goal has been to drive the political process into the ground, and it hasn't worked. So these objectives aren't being met, and I think Zawahiri and the top lieutenants of Al-Qaeda are making a strategic recognition that the Zarqawi strategy isn't working, and they want to change it.
U.S. intelligence officials say the letter has been authenticated. Meantime, about Saturday's referendum in Iraq, late today, the Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, the most powerful Shiite cleric in Iraq, urged all of his followers to vote yes on the Constitution. Also, Democratic Senator Chris Dodd from Connecticut, a frequent critic of the Bush administration, wrapped up a 4-day trip to Iraq. On a conference call today, Senator Dodd predicted a positive turnout at the polls Saturday. He called this a critical moment that could shift momentum away from the insurgency. Dodd said the Iraqis need to get the message that, quote, they'll be taking the reins soon. Britt?
Okay, Brett, thank you. More evidence continues to emerge about the extent of the destruction left by Saturday's earthquake in Pakistan. Relief supplies and workers are flooding into the country, but as Fox News correspondent Mike Tobin reports, conditions are so difficult even the U.S. military is limited in how much it can do.
A tiny hand clings to a father. The father clings to hope he can get his child to medical care, the child clinging with only one arm. This little girl was carried over mountains for 3 days with a splinted leg to get to a place where she could get help. The help is being delivered by this Air National Guard flight crew from Oregon. With a Chinook helicopter, they deliver tents, medical supplies, and personnel to the devastated reaches of northern Pakistan. Then they pick from the seemingly endless line of sick and injured people, taking them to Islamabad Hospital.
There are so many children like this, so many little broken bodies that need medical attention. 2.5 million people homeless, and all the flight crews here can offer is one helicopter ride at a time.
There is an attempt to prioritize and get the worst cases on board first, but each pickup ends up a desperate rush just to airlift the sick. Ultimately, the masses are told this helicopter is full. Their misery waits for the next ride.
Well, you do feel some type of gratitude when you have, your helicopter stacked full of people, bandaged and bleeding, and you're getting them some help. But you just do what you can do.
For this Air National Guard flight crew, a lot of this is routine. What they do is take things to a location, drop it off, pick something up, and bring it back. But when you look at this scene of despair and absolute desperation, the people they are getting to decent medical care, there's nothing routine about that at all.
On the aircraft, we hand our drinks to the sick, and they give them to those in worse condition. The injured and miserable are packed on the floor, crammed onto benches, but rapidly approaching life-saving attention. Looking out the window of the aircraft, it's hard to comprehend that just one earthquake could cause so much destruction, so much suffering.
Because you can fly for a good half an hour and see the same devastation for half an hour, so it's pretty vast.
The chopper lands, the injured get care, a chance to save their lives and repair their battered bodies. The Air National Guardsmen repeat the journey. With more U.S. helicopters arriving, it's all they can do to stem this tide of suffering. In northern Pakistan, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice today took a short detour from her diplomatic rounds overseas to stop in Pakistan for a meeting with President Pervez Musharraf about recovery from the earthquake. As Fox News correspondent James Rosen reports, the Secretary offered condolences and American aid.
On a tour of Central Asia, Secretary Rice made an unplanned stop in Islamabad to show support for the grieving Pakistani people and for the U.S. troops deployed to help regional forces deliver earthquake assistance.
It shows great cooperation and support between the Afghan, American, and Pakistani forces. In this hour of need, everybody needs to work together, and this is a fine example of how that's happening.
Rice steered clear of the affected areas so as not to disrupt ongoing rescue and recovery efforts. The initial U.S. aid package to Pakistan has so far entailed $50 million in cash, 5 Chinook and 3 Black Hawk helicopters, a forklift and other heavy industrial equipment, medical teams, blankets, and other critical supplies. Today, the Secretary made clear that's just the beginning.
We will mobilize even greater support for lift. There will be other Chinooks coming to help with these remote areas because the immediate need is to get to those areas and to get help to those people in the remote areas. President.
Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf, a key U.S. ally in the war on terror, met with Rice shortly after he received word from Pentagon officials that 25 to 30 American helicopters would be in the region within a few days, along with 220 Army reservists. To the Secretary of State, Musharraf expressed his gratitude.
And we got, again, the United States assistance, we got 5 Chinooks and Black Hawks also. They were very handy, and they are still operating. I'm very glad.
Earlier, Rice visited Kabul, where she met with Afghan President Hamid Karzai. Their session came 4 years and 5 days after the start of the U.S. bombing campaign, which ousted the Taliban from power and made possible Karzai's installation and subsequent election in his own right. But recent days have seen a resurgence of violence in Afghanistan. In the southern city of Kandahar today, Taliban gunmen killed 5 relief workers, while a rocket attack near an ambassador's residence in Kabul left 1 man wounded. Secretary Rice vowed the U.S. would, quote, do what it takes in terms of numbers and support to ensure the fledgling Afghan democracy succeeds.
The Afghan people will have partners through NATO and, of course, through the coalition forces and through American forces for as long as they are needed, in whatever numbers they are needed, to make certain that we defeat the terrorists.
At the same time, Secretary Rice said U.S. troop levels in Afghanistan are definitely going to be reviewed, even as she acknowledged there are still, quote, quite a bit of hardcore Al-Qaeda and Taliban forces in that country. At the State Department, James Rosen, Fox News.
Syria's Interior Ministry was found dead in his office today, just days before a United Nations report that could implicate high-ranking Syrian officials in the assassination of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri earlier this year. The Syrian government says the minister, Brigadier General Ghazi Kanan, who had been Syria's intelligence chief in Beirut for 20 years, committed suicide, but opponents of the Syrian regime claim he could have been murdered to cover up government involvement in the Hariri murder. Next on Special Report, the White House tries to clear up confusion over what conservatives were told and why before the president named Harriet Miers as his Supreme Court pick. Stay tuned.
Special Report with Brit Hume is brought to you by Pacific Life, offering insurance, annuities, and investments. Pacific Life, the power to help you succeed.
What does the future hold? Will you have the choices to make your world better? To live the life you dream of? At Pacific Life, planning for a better tomorrow is what we're all about. That's why for over 135 years, Pacific Life has offered millions of people a world of financial solutions to help them live well now and plan well for the future. Ask your financial professional about Pacific Life, the power to help you succeed.
Hey, my son just said something smart. As my friend said, he's not as dumb as he looks.
Talk to someone close to you about new Medicare prescription drug coverage. It can save them money, give them peace of mind, and make you look good.
I just made up for 40 years of disappointing my parents.
Go to Medicare.gov for information on the plans in your area. Sign up for Medicare prescription drug coverage begins November 15th.
I forgive you for marrying Bob. Rob. Whatever.
Oh, man, a paper jam.
Paper jam. Get Pam. Get Pam.
I am. We always get slammed with these paper jams.
Give it a good wham.
I couldn't find Pam, so I got Pram.
Why are we rhyming?
Guys, the presentation will be fine. We've got an easy button.
When it comes to making copies, every business has an easy button. It's called Staples. Our copy and print center can handle any job, big or small, when you need it done right.
Here's a diagram, ma'am.
Staples. That was easy. Come in and get color copies for just 39 cents now through November 12th.
They say time is money, and we say you're wasting both if you don't rent from National Car Rental. When you join National's Emerald Club, you get to bypass the counter, go straight to the lot, and choose your own car. And the more you rent, the faster you earn upgrades. We've also streamlined the return process, so you just drop off your car and go. Now with our 1-2 free promotion, with 2 qualifying rentals, you get 1 day free. Go to nationalcar.com to register. National Car Rental, faster than the speed of life.
President Bush today tried to dispel the impression the White House had given some conservative leaders private assurances that he had chosen Supreme Court nominee Harriet Miers because of her religious views which might mean she could be counted on to vote a certain way on the high bench. Fox News Chief Washington correspondent Jim Angle reports.
Help advance the cause.
During a meeting with the leader of Poland, President Bush was asked about White House calls with conservatives, pointing out Harriet Miers' church activities and religious beliefs. He said it was just outreach to explain the facts to people.
They want to know Harriet Miers' background. They want to know as much as they possibly can before they form opinions. Part of Harriet Miers' life is her religion.
But the president went on to explain why he chose her, noting that she was a pioneer woman and a trailblazer in Texas legal circles.
Remind people that Harriet Miers is has been rated consistently one of the top 50 women lawyers in the United States. She's eminently qualified for the job.
Some conservative activists have been unimpressed with the president's arguments or what they were told earlier by White House aides, including Karl Rove. Those White House contacts with activists became an issue because one supporter, James Dobson, created a controversy by telling listeners last week he knew things about Miers he shouldn't know. In a radio broadcast today, he explained what he meant.
What did Karl Rove say to me that I knew on Monday that I couldn't reveal? That Harriet Miers is an evangelical Christian, that she is from a very conservative church, which is almost universally pro-life.
But that was a characterization of her personal views, not an indication of how she might rule in any particular case. And Dobson says that question about how she might rule on abortion or any other matter was never discussed.
Karl would not have told me that. That's the most incendiary information that's out there, and it was never part of our discussion.
Dobson said the White House also made clear to him just before the decision was made that the president was inclined to nominate a woman to replace Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. At that point, senators and conservative groups had been offering lots of suggestions to the White House, but Karl Rove told Dobson that many had asked not to be considered.
Because the process has become so vicious and so vitriolic and so bitter that they didn't want to subject themselves or the members of their families to it.
Miers could be forgiven for wondering about the process herself after a number of conservatives have roundly criticized her nomination without knowing much about her. And the president's attorney general appealed to them today to give Miers a chance.
They don't have enough information to make an informed judgment. And that's what we're asking people to do, is to wait, let the Senate Judiciary Committee do its job, give Ms. Miers an opportunity to present her qualifications to the American people.
And Senator Leahy, the ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, says no one should be permitted to hound a nominee to withdraw before the hearing process has even begun. The committee sent Miers its questionnaire today, which should take about a week to complete. Britt?
Jim, thank you. Next on Special Report, what does that intercepted letter reveal about Al-Qaeda's circumstances and its mission? We'll look for answers when we come back.
Metamucil presents The Regulars.
Bob, Fred, Jack. Bob, Fred, Jack. Bob, Fred, Jack.
If you want to be one of the regulars,
Bob, Fred, Jack.
Take Metamucil Daily Fiber every day to stay regular the natural way.
For years, I have used Pledge on my wood surfaces. Now I can use Pledge multi-surface on a lot of different surfaces. General household cleaning products are not appropriate for wood. Look for Pledge. They're the perfect people to come up with this.
The beauty of Pledge for wood and beyond.
Dad?
Hey, buddy.
Could you read me a story? Football.
That's okay. I can freeze time.
Whoa.
The DirecTV DVR, the most magical thing that ever happened to TV. Finally, an easy-to-use DVR that gives you the power to pause and rewind live TV, so you'll never miss a second of what's important to you. Somebody up there loves you. DirecTV. Sign up and get a DirecTV DVR free. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
And I love being a trader. Living for the moment, baby.
Yeah, but is that all we're about? I mean, I love being a trader, but I also have an investing side. Like, I want to open a B&B.
B&B?
Well,
B&B?
that's awesome.
You know what? I've always wanted to write a children's book.
What about?
Ponies.
You know what? I put money aside every month, and I'm going to open up a shelter for abused dogs.
See, that's wonderful.
Time to embrace your investing side. At Ameritrade, you'll find products and services to help you plan and invest for your goals.
Hey, Jeff, how about you?
Well, I have been thinking about opening a dance school. Let's do some moves.
Call 888-396-6001 or go to Ameritrade.com/invest to get up to 35 free trades and $100 cash.
The Jerry Springer Show, stripped down and torn up.
That was a perfectly good wedding dress.
The unbridled Springer mayhem we couldn't show you on regular TV.
Don't make me hit you.
Wicked clips from the cutting room floor, all uncensored.
That is drama.
Jerry Springer, uncut, stripped, and torn too. Wicked.
Okay, I have it under control.
Now playing on pay-per-view.
Lose fat, increase energy, reshape your body in record time with Fitness Made Simple's new 45-minute fat-burning workout.
There are no tricky dance moves, no high-impact gyrations, just lightweight training done at a heart-pumping cardio pace to build lean muscle and burn pounds of fat.
Work out at home with fitness celebrity John Bastow doing exercises to sculpt your chest, back, shoulders, arms, legs, and abs. Call now or order online at fitnessmadesimple.com.
Fitness Made Simple, bringing real results to real people.
I think what the letter shows clearly is that it shows clearly the nature of the enemy we're dealing with. And this isn't a question of hearts and minds. It's a question of bodies and gore.
Now, that's the State Department, which says the Zawahiri letter shows what a brutal organization Al-Qaeda is, but at 6,000 words, is there something more to the letter than that? For answers, we turn to Dan Senor, who served in Iraq as the coalition spokesman. You saw him earlier in Brett Baer's report, now a Fox News analyst. Welcome, Dan. Nice
Good to be with you, Britt.
So what should we take away from this letter at 6,000 words? I did notice that there was a lot of fulsome praise of by Zawahiri writing to Zarqawi about all that he had done, and lots of talk about their grand goals of what Al-Qaeda hopes to accomplish, but what else?
The big point is the strategy isn't working. Zawahiri is quite clear about that. Last January, we obtained, when I was working for the coalition, a letter that was sent from Zarqawi to the senior Al-Qaeda leadership in Afghanistan.
I remember it.
And it laid out the battle plan for Iraq. It was undermine the political process. He said there's no greater threat to Al-Qaeda in Iraq than the development of a self-governing Iraqi democracy.
Right.
It was inflame the country in civil war, engage in attacks against the majority Shiites, in the hope, terrorist attacks, in the hopes that the Shiites will respond with reprisals against the Sunnis and inflame the country in civil war. And number three, prevent the Iraqis from developing their security services, engage in attacks against the recruitment facilities and the training facilities.
Which have they done?
They've been doing all three of those things. The only problem is none of the objectives have met. The political process is alive and well. The Iraqi security forces are still being trained despite major casualties. General Abizadeh told me that for every one Iraqi killed at a recruiting facility in these terrorist attacks, there's another 10 more ready to serve. And the country has not inflamed in civil war. There's a lot of violence, but it's not civil war. So Zawahiri now is emailing Zarqawi back. He acknowledges receipt.
This is an email, right?
Yeah, he acknowledges receipt of the initial document, and he says the strategy isn't working. Your objectives have not been met, and let me tell you what else is going on. He says the Pakistani security forces have us on the run in Afghanistan. We are running out of money. He actually makes an appeal to Zarqawi for money.
So this is headquarters asking the
satellite franchise for help,
right.
And he says,
I guess the satellite franchise now is the central theater.
That's correct. And he says that this number three, Faraj al-Libi, who was caught not long ago, and people didn't put tremendous amount of significance on this.
The Pentagon kept saying that this Faraj al-Libi, or al-Faraj, I guess, is over here calling it, was a big get, and everybody said, I never heard of him.
Right.
But this letter...
Zawahiri says this was a big get, and he says it's symptomatic of a larger problem, which is that these guys are on the run, and they're starting to catch them, and they don't have resources, and the strategy isn't working. And the fundamental point he makes is Zarqawi's strategy of blowing up hundreds of Iraqis on a weekly or monthly basis, predominantly Shiites, is turning the local population against the Al-Qaeda mission. And he makes this sort of bizarre comparison to the American experience in Vietnam, where he says when the Americans left Vietnam, there was a vacuum, and the Vietnamese, North Vietnamese, were able to rally support of the local population to their cause. They're able to fill the vacuum. And he says, Zarqawi, what you're doing by killing all these Iraqis and the hostages and the beheadings, you're turning the local population against us. So once the Americans leave, we won't be able to fill the political vacuum.
And his scenario about the Americans leaving is interesting. I mean, he seems to be... it was hard for me to tell in reading the letter whether he was using this scenario of America suddenly pulling out of there, which clearly, in any foreseeable future is not going to happen, as an argument, a point of argument to try to get Zarqawi to kind of go along with him and stop slaughtering everybody.
That's right. He's basically saying, we have a political program, and we need your military program, which is the insurgency, to complement our political program, which is to build a caliphate, to build this Al-Qaeda-run Muslim, Islamic, extreme jihadi Islamic control of Iraq and the region. And Zarqawi, you're screwing it up by slaughtering all these Iraqis. We are losing Iraqi hearts and minds.
Yeah, in that context, he said something about the Taliban that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, he basically says that when the Taliban fell, the Taliban had alienated so much of the Afghani population that there's no support in Afghanistan for the Taliban. He says you're going to do the same thing in Iraq. You're going to have no popular support if you keep continuing with these gruesome violence against rank and file.
Now, this letter was sent when, as far as we can tell?
We don't know. We think it's recent. I mean, we think it's in the last couple of months, which is interesting because the initial letter that I referred to that we released when I was working for the coalition we declassified it January 2004, and it was sent about a couple months before that. So we're looking about 8 to 12 months between the two communiques. So basically, Zarqawi sends a document one way. This is our plan, lays it out, and it's almost like Zahiri from Afghanistan is going back to Zarqawi with a report card saying your strategy isn't working. Wherever he may be, he's saying your strategy isn't working.
And he says we need money. He seems to be worried about the Pakistani army. The question is, we don't see any discernible change in the Zarqawi strategy yet.
No. Well, now's the time to watch. Now's the time to monitor over the next couple months whether or not we see the mass suicide attacks against the Shiites, political figures, for those signing up for the security forces, and those religious leaders.
And the other thing is, of course, we have seen that they haven't been showing any pictures of beheadings lately, which may suggest that some effect is...
We believe that the decline of the beheadings had to do with us going into Fallujah, but there may be more to it than just that. It could be that the strategy is changing.
Very interesting. Dan Senor, glad to have you. Dan will be doing a special this weekend on Fox News on the trial of Saddam Hussein. Don't miss it. And sponsors next. After that, the Grapevine. Stay tuned.
Roberta, I can see you as a file clerk. You ever thought about that? It's a great way to meet eligible lawyers. You have to think about your future. File clerk. Yeah.
File clerk? Have you ever considered becoming a lawyer?
That one thing you've always wanted to do? It's still out there, just waiting for you to say, hello, future. Call your advisor about the powerful resources of Lincoln Financial Group.
Thanks for coming to the offsite. So how do we help our business run smarter?
We could use FedEx for all of our shipping, overnight, ground, even the heavy stuff.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
Why make running your small business harder than it has to be?
Oh, hey, hi, I'm Dacre. Don't mind me, I'm just a dermatophyte. A nail infection. All I want is to get in here and live under your nails. You can't get me with clippers or those surface treatments you try on your own. I'm in too deep in your nail bed. I'll make myself comfortable and invite a few friends. Settle in.
Do you have thick, discolored, or flaky nails? It may be caused by an active live infection that may spread to other nails. Go online now to learn about prescription-only Lamisil tablets. Unlike OTC surface treatments, Lamisil is a pill that works through the bloodstream to target and attack the infection at its source, underneath the nail. In fact, you can start to see clearer, healthier nails in just 3 months. Lamisil isn't for people with liver or kidney problems. In rare cases, serious side effects in the liver or serious skin reactions have occurred, so your doctor may do a simple blood test. Other side effects, including headache, diarrhea, indigestion, and rash, were generally mild. Ask your doctor about Lamisil. Once daily Lamisil tablets. Get your nail infection where it grows.
Pakistan, the death toll rises. Heavy rains and hail slow down the search for survivors. We have the latest. Plus, coalition forces are on an all-out offensive on the ground, and with our troops, get live reports as international events unfold. Stay with Fox News Channel. Saturday, we take you inside one of the biggest trials in history with eyewitness testimony, unprecedented access, and exclusive interviews.
Once the trial starts, anything can happen.
Saturday, Saddam Hussein on trial.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia. International aid is arriving in remote areas of Pakistan devastated by that killer earthquake. Rescue teams are struggling to find possible survivors. Miraculously, a 5-year-old girl was found alive on Wednesday. Helicopters delivering emergency supplies to earthquake victims after a day of heavy rain and hail had grounded the aircraft. Well, there are still 22,000 hurricane evacuees in shelters in Louisiana, and FEMA is under a Saturday deadline to move them out for longer-term housing. 270,000 people were in shelters 5 weeks ago, but it's not clear if the federal government will meet its own deadline. 400,000 evacuees are in hotels or staying temporarily with their families and friends. Well, New Jersey is under a flood watch after a 6th straight day of rain. High water creating tunnel delays into New York City and flooded out the business districts in Hackensack and Princeton. Meanwhile, parts of New Hampshire may not see the sun anytime soon either. Forecasters there say 3 to 6 inches of rain is possible over the next few days. And it's a whole new scene for Apple Computer and its iPod customers, literally. The company coming up with a new version featuring video. It can play music videos and TV. Apple will sell iPod owners the music videos for $1.99, and the iPod will cost you $300. We'll see you with an update after the top of the hour. I'm Donna Fiducia. Special report with Brit Hume continues right now.
And now the most interesting 2 minutes in television, the latest from the political grapevine. What do outgoing German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder and Democratic National Chairman Howard Dean have in common? Well, they're both continuing to rip the Bush administration's response to Hurricane Katrina. Schroeder, soon to be replaced by the conservative Angela Merkel, warned against eroding Germany's welfare state, saying, quote, "I can think of a recent disaster that shows what happens when a country neglects its duties of state towards its people," and adding, "You all know that I'm talking about America." Meanwhile, Dean attacked his Republican counterpart Ken Mehlman for daring to speak to the NAACP in Connecticut, saying, quote, "I'm shocked that he would have the nerve to show his face in front of any African-American organization after the way they treated those people in New Orleans," end quote. Lawmakers from New Mexico are asking the Justice Department to intervene in a court ruling requiring environmental impact reviews for any forest activities approved by the government, since, among other things, the decision could hold up the delivery of the capital's Christmas tree until Valentine's Day. The Forest Service has suspended more than 1,500 permits for activities ranging from fire prevention and trail upkeep to family reunions and Boy Scout meetings, all of which had been exempted from such studies because they were deemed to have low environmental impact. Republican Senator Pete Domenici says the decision is, quote, "like the Grinch who stole Christmas for New Mexico," which is responsible for providing the Capitol's tree. Washington Post reporter Dana Milbank says that President Bush, quote, "has not been viewed up close since Harriet Miers' nomination, despite several presidential speeches and a Rose Garden press conference, so he's resorting to interpreting the president's body language." Milbank writes that the, quote, "blur of blinks, taps, jiggles, pivots, and shifts during an NBC News interview yesterday are, quote, the body language of a man wishing urgently to be elsewhere." Milbank counted 4 blinks during the question on the White House leak investigation, 23 on Hurricane Katrina, and 37 on Harriet Miers. But an unofficial Fox News tally put the number of presidential blinks during a routine question on Syria today in the Oval Office at 42. Hillary Clinton will be entertaining some of her big political donors at a rock concert in Washington next week, and the band she'll be watching isn't a bit happy about it. Contributors who pony up $2,500 to Clinton's Political Action Committee can share a luxury suite with the former First Lady at Wednesday's U2 concert, and Clinton isn't the only senator using the band to raise campaign cash. Pennsylvania Republican Rich Santorum is charging $1,000 a head to enjoy his company at U2's Philadelphia show. But a spokesman for the band says their concerts are, quote, categorically not fundraisers for any politician. They are rock concerts for U2 fans, end quote. The question in Washington these days is, will someone in the top ranks of White House insiders end up in hot water in the leak of the name of a CIA operative? Fox News Chief White House correspondent Carl Cameron reports the grand jury today heard more testimony. It was New York Times reporter Judith Miller's second appearance before the grand jury investigating whether any White House officials intentionally disclosed the name of a covert CIA operative. The issue has raised questions about two of the most influential senior administration officials in the Bush White House, Deputy Chief of Staff Karl Rove and the Vice President's Chief of Staff, Louis Scooter Libby. Miller spent nearly 3 months in jail before revealing Libby was her source 2 weeks ago and testifying that she had had 2 conversations with him. But after that grand jury appearance, Miller discovered old notes of an initial discussion with Libby that she had not disclosed. Miller left the courthouse without commenting today. She had returned to go over those old notes and testify about that previously undisclosed first conversation with Libby. Sources say Libby did tell the FBI and the grand jury about the second and third conversations with Miller, but he too omitted any disclosure of the first conversation with her, according to National Journal magazine, quoting sources with first-hand knowledge of his testimony. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales this morning specified that he would not discuss the investigation or anyone involved, but explained in general terms why any witness might be called back for repeat testimony.
This prosecutor may have new information that may contradict prior testimony or may have questions regarding prior testimony, may simply seek a clarification. I'm not going to try to speculate as to what the motivation is behind Mr. Fitzgerald in asking for a return by any witness.
On Friday, Karl Rove, the president's principal political advisor, is expected to testify for a 4th time before the grand jury. White House spokesman Scott McClellan dismissed any suggestion that Rove has been distracted by the investigation or scaled back his role in White House decision-making.
No, he continues to perform his duties.
Sources close to the investigation say the prosecutor has not decided if he'll seek any indictments, and no so-called target letter or verbal warning has been given to Rove indicating he could face indictment. At issue is whether White House officials intentionally disclosed the identity of CIA operative Valerie Plame. Her husband, former Ambassador Joe Wilson, has accused the White House of outing his wife as retribution for Wilson's criticism of administration claims about Iraqi weapons of mass destruction. After a 2-year investigation, the grand jury's term is set to expire in now 16 days. Many expect that he's in the process of wrapping up the case, but there is the possibility they could ask for an extension. In the meantime, a handful of House Democrats today wrote Prosecutor Fitzgerald a letter demanding that he issue a public report as well as to Congress, particularly and even if he doesn't issue any charges. Britt?
Carl, thank you. Texas Republican Congressman Tom DeLay's supporters insist he's been targeted by Texas prosecutor Ronnie Earl, not for breaking any laws, but for political reasons. Fox News congressional correspondent Brian Wilson takes a deeper look into that aspect of the case.
Tom DeLay's legal problems have taken a back seat to the bare-knuckled brawl developing between two of the Lone Star State's most colorful legal figures. In one corner, Democratic DA Ronnie Earl, sometimes described as the third most powerful man in Texas because he has the power to investigate anything that happens in the state capitol. In the other corner, representing Tom DeLay, Dick DeGuerin, one of the state's premier lawyers who's been hammering Earl with a stack of legal filings. The latest pile of motions from DeGuerin, filed in Austin late yesterday, included a subpoena for Earl.
It's not posturing. We want to bring this before the judge in order to give support to our motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct.
Earl quibbled with the subpoenas that were sent to his office and initially declined to sign receipt of them. The original subpoenas had to be corrected because someone had written the wrong cause number on them. Earl's only comment was a written one. Quote, because of laws protecting grand jury secrecy, there are limitations to what we can say at this time, but we fully expect to prevail in this matter. Earl will, however, be filing responses to DeGuerin's many motions prior to DeLay's first court appearance scheduled for late next week. Amid all this, a conservative group is running a new ad attacking Earl.
A prosecutor with a political agenda can be vicious. When liberal Democrat Ronnie Earl went after Republican Kay Bailey Hutchison, the judge threw out his case. But now Earl's after another Republican, Tom DeLay.
The ad will be aired first on TV stations in Austin and ends by asking the viewer to pick up the phone.
Tell Earl he's wrong. It's not a crime to be a conservative.
All of this sets the stage for a no-holds-barred legal wrestling match, the likes of which has not been seen in a while, even in the state of Texas. The conservative DeLay fighting for his political life in the liberal enclave of Travis County, Texas. Britt?
Spoken like a man who came from those parts.
That's right.
All right, Brian, thanks very much.
Next on Special Report is top Al-Qaeda leadership worried about what's happening in Iraq. We'll bring on the Fox All-Stars to talk about that.
Are those voodoo dolls?
Mm-hmm. This one's overages, and I call this one roaming.
You know, with Sprint's fair and flexible plans, there are no huge overages or roaming charges, so you're in control.
So they worked. Now I'm gonna make one for loneliness.
Sprint's new fair and flexible plans with no huge overages or roaming charges. You control your plan. It doesn't control you. Plans start at just $29.99 a month. Sprint. Yes, you can.
Great, the power's out. But you've got a flashlight, right? With dead batteries. Introducing the Everlight flashlight, voted USA Today's Product of the Year. It works every time without batteries, guaranteed. The secret is a new breakthrough in charging technology. Just shake Everlight flashlight for a few seconds, and you get bright light without batteries every time. Everlight flashlight is a must for all home repairs and emergency kits. Everlight can be seen for over a mile away. Perfect in the car, on the boat, while camping, even when you walk the dog. You'll always have light whenever you need it. Everlight flashlight is waterproof, shock resistant, and so tough, we guarantee it for life. Now, on this special TV offer, get the amazing Everlight flashlight for the incredible price of just $19.95. Call now and get the pocket-size Everlight flashlight, a $15 value, absolutely free. Call now and say goodbye to dead flashlights forever.
Call 1-800-775-8167 to order the Everlight flashlight for just $19.95 plus shipping. That's 1-800-775-8167. Call now.
What if everyone just settled for average? What if nobody raised the bar? What if everyone decided to let someone else figure it out? By investing in Russia's oil and natural gas reserves, the world's second largest, ConocoPhillips is helping ensure global energy production for decades to come. Turning what ifs into what's next is just another way we elevate.
The panel is brought to you by ConocoPhillips. Where others see obstacles, we see a chance to elevate.
All right. We're going to have some analytical observations from our panel in a moment, but first a couple of excerpts from this some 6,000-word letter from Ayman al-Zawahiri, the number 2 Al-Qaeda man overall, written to Zarqawi, the man in Iraq. Quote, "The enemy struck a blow against us with the arrest of," this is the number 3 man, Abu al-Faraj al-Libi, referred to simply as al-Faraj there. "However, the real danger comes from the agent Pakistani army that is carrying out operations in the tribal areas looking for mujahideen." That's how they refer to themselves. "Many of the lines have been cut off. Because of this, we need a payment while new lines are being opened. So if you're capable of sending a payment of approximately $100,000, we'll be very grateful." Later, talking about Iraq. "We don't want to repeat the mistake of the Taliban. They did not have any representation for the Afghan people in their ruling regime. So the result was that the Afghan people disengaged themselves from them." Later, "Many of your Muslim admirers amongst the common folk are wondering about your attacks on the Shia. Among the things which the feelings of the Muslim populace who love and support you will never find palatable also are the scenes of slaughtering the hostages. We are in a media battle in a race for the hearts and minds of our ummah." That means their broad following. So this letter, which is apparently a response to an earlier letter from Zarqawi, in which he outlined his strategy, which Zawahiri is giving some opinion of today in terms of its effects and in terms of the condition of Al-Qaeda, tells us what? Fred Barnes, executive editor of the Weekly Standard. Mort Kondracki, executive editor of Roll Call. And Mara Eliason, national political correspondent of National Public Radio. All right.
No,
Fred, you go first.
Yeah, they're losing. I mean, they're losing in Iraq, they're losing in Afghanistan, or wherever the heck Zawahiri and Osama bin Laden are. I mean, I don't think they ever worried much about the Pakistani army before. At least they didn't broadcast it like this. And the strategy that Zarqawi is carrying out in Iraq is clearly not working. I don't really think Zarqawi ever understood that what he was supposed to do was win the hearts and minds of Iraqis. I think he thought his job was to blow up the hearts and minds of Iraqis, and he was doing a lot of that, mainly Shia. So, look, there.
Well, that was actually the strategy that he outlined in his previous letter. He said they were going to create a civil, going to attack the Shia to turn them against the Sunni and start a civil war.
But, Brit, couple, and here's why there's a reason to be greatly encouraged. Couple this, that Al-Qaeda's in trouble there in Iraq, with what General Scales was saying yesterday about how the Iraqi army is starting to come online and be effective, and then the success on the political side with it looks now certain ratification of the Constitution on Saturday, things are really looking up.
Yeah, on the constitutional front, by the way, I mean, it is a significant development that there was this agreement yesterday brokered by our ambassador, Zal Khalilzad, to basically, it's a kicking the can down the road on the basic issues that are still under contention in the Constitution into next year sometime. But nonetheless, it assures that this Constitution will be approved,
or at least is much more likely.
Much more likely, and there's a possibility that the December 15th election will also come off because the Sunnis will have an incentive to elect as many people to the parliament as they possibly can to improve their broker.
Because part of the deal gave them a chance to amend the Constitution more to their liking.
Once they get elected.
Once they get elected. Now, they've already decided they're going to participate now. One of the problems, the disadvantages they have is they have too few people because they didn't participate the first time. But, no, it does sound like now you're getting more Sunnis on board, and that's important if you're going to ratify this thing and move forward. Look, I think the letter is pretty interesting. I mean, the letter clearly talks about a battle between Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. There's no doubt about that they consider that the enemy, and that there is a lot of attention paid to winning hearts and minds. A
lot of attention paid in the letter, but not necessarily what's going on in Iraq.
Which one thing that the insurgency has not been up until now, although certainly Sunnis have supported it, people who are, some Sunnis have supported it, hasn't been a popular movement. It hasn't been people rushing out into the streets
a couple things to kill Americans, American soldiers, that might be more popular than killing actual Iraqis, but they found out it was too difficult to kill American soldiers.
In any numbers,
because you get killed in return. So now they're down to the easiest type of attack, which is a terrorist attack on innocent civilians.
Well, it's probably not that easy it's not easy for the attacker who gets blown up in the bargain, but it's probably the one attack against which no nation on earth has yet found ever in history a defense, which is the suicide or kamikaze attack.
Right. I mean, there are a couple of other points in here. Zawahiri is enough on the run that he can't watch Al Jazeera. He says to Zarqawi, I gave this interview to Al Jazeera, but I didn't get to see it, and so presumably you can't get reception in the cave, wherever he is. Secondly, there's this diatribe about the malicious, perfidious, and fallacious campaign by the deceptive, fabricated media. Well, they've got problems with the media too, that they convey these pictures of people getting their throat slit, and it looks bad on TV. They think about PR. Bad PR.
When we come back with our panel, we'll take up Harriet Miers, her religious views, and what the White House insiders told conservatives about that and why.
Your weather, Fox News.
Cold sufferers who take NyQuil sleep better at night, so they feel better when they wake up.
Gotcha.
NyQuil, best sleep you ever got with a cold medicine.
Without faith, there can be no future.
It has fallen to us to defend Jerusalem.
From Ridley Scott, director of Gladiator. Kingdom of Heaven. Own the DVD today.
Hey, hon, we got to pick up Mikey at practice.
Woo!
Looking good, buddy.
Hi, sweetie. That's okay. Wait for a good one.
Nice one.
If only you could do more without leaving home. Fortunately, Walgreens' new digital service lets you upload photos to Walgreens.com and send them to print at thousands of Walgreens for you to pick up in as little as an hour.
Right now, Dish Network has 50 good reasons for you to add HBO and Showtime. $50 back. Order HBO and get 8 channels of hit Hollywood movies and HBO's award-winning series. Order Showtime Unlimited and get 10 channels of hot movies and cutting-edge originals. Order them together and you can get $50 back. HBO. Showtime. and $50 in your pocket. Now that's a deal. Go online or call 1-888-DISH-109 and get it all only from Dish Network.
Let's compare. If this is other car insurance companies, and this is Allstate, and if they both cost about the same, which would you feel safer with? You're in good company. Last year, over 1 million people switched their car insurance to Allstate. Surprised? For many people, Allstate actually costs less than those companies that only talk about how much you can save. Allstate's been helping drivers for over 70 years. You can look to their knowledge and experience for help 24/7. You get more than an 800 number. You get real people with answers. Why get car insurance from a company you're not sure about when you can get peace of mind from Allstate? It's a good feeling if the going gets rough.
Call 1-866-532-3900 and find out how much Allstate's knowledge and experience can help you save. You don't have to wait for your current policy to expire. Switch to Allstate and start saving right now.
Quality car insurance should be affordable. That's Allstate, Stan. Are you in good hands?
How would you like the power to change from this to this? Join the thousands of men and women who are changing their bodies and lives with our best-selling videos hosted by fitness celebrity Don Bastow.
Fitness Made Simple gives you the power to change. The power to change your body, the power to change your life.
Order our power package today and get the original Fitness Made Simple workout and nutrition video, plus AM/PM workouts, John's popular morning and evening exercise video for only $29.95. That's 2 videos for the price of 1. Call now.
Fitness Made Simple, bringing real results to real people.
Why do people in this White House feel it is necessary to tell your supporters that Harriet Miers attends a very conservative Christian church?
People are interested to know why I picked Harriet Miers. They want to know Harriet Miers' background. They want to know as much as they possibly can before they form opinions. Part of Harriet Miers' life is her religion.
So as that was unfolding today, James Dobson, the head of Focus on the Family, which is an influential group, he of course is a religious broadcaster, was telling his audience that he had not had anything improper or untoward whispered in his ear that the Senate Judiciary Committee ought to know about from Karl Rove. Here is part of what he said.
We did not discuss Roe v. Wade in any context or any other pending issue that will be considered by the court. I did not ask that question.
So there you have it. There's a dust-up on Capitol Hill with some thinking that Dobson ought to come before the Senate Judiciary Committee and tell him what Rove told him about Harriet Miers before the nomination was made. So where does all this now stand? And is any of this making any difference, this flap making any difference the president had to answer for today, as to the confirmation prospects of Harriet Miers?
Well, as I understand it from Ed Gillespie, who's the outside mayor, who's
the nomination manager.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're going to try to do is emphasize her qualifications and visit this thing and the president. So the president was partly on message and partly off message, but he was off message on the religion part because he was answering the question that was posed to him. So he says, well, her religion is part of who she is, and then he jumps to the idea that she's on a list of the top 50 women lawyers and she's highly qualified and all that. That's the new message, and the message will be, I don't know how they're going to get to this. Maybe there are speeches that she made as the Texas Bar Association chief and stuff like that. But anyway, that's the new sales job.
The part on message, part off message thing has characterized this entire effort from the beginning. That sometimes the White House seems like the gang who couldn't shoot straight in terms of getting their talking points together. I mean, either her religion is important or it's not important. I mean, it supposedly was not important with John Roberts. As a matter of fact, we were told with many Catholic nominees that it was not acceptable to question them about their religion. Their supporters. And remember the ads that said Catholics
but did the White House say that?
Many, I don't know if the White House actually said that, but many conservatives and Republicans said religion should be off limits, and I actually think that should be applied across the board. If it's not right for Democrats to use nominees' religions against them, it's also not right for the White House to say that religion is a positive selling point for her.
Well, wait a minute. Why can't it? Wait a minute.
Because it's not supposed to be a clue to how you would rule.
Well, no, but it's also, but why would anybody's religion ever be negative? I mean, why isn't religion something
The notion that your religion would inform how you would rule on the bench. That's
that's what it is. I think Mara's right. You know, Democrats, and they were accused. Chuck Schumer in particular, when he said, I think your views are so deeply embedded and so on.
That was about Judge Pryor.
That was about Judge Pryor, Bill Pryor. Yeah, who's now on the court, on the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. But in any case, the suggestion, or how a lot of people interpreted that, he was saying, you know, your Catholicism is so strong that I don't think that in cases like abortion you can really take an honest, independent look at them. And I think it was a mistake for the White House to talk about her religion right in the beginning. And I think, Britt, it was aimed at drawing support from people who are conservative Christians. And it has in part, but it hasn't in part too. Some were turned off by that. They thought it was condescending that argument or that idea should be thrown out in the case of a Supreme Court justice. Now, is this going to be a big deal? And her, whether she's confirmed or not, I think it's already passed.
So what caused the problem?
Wait, I want to add one thing. The president was clearly not saying today, in that bite you showed, that I picked her partly because of her religion. That's not what he said.
I agree with you, but let me ask this question. Was the advanced consultation with James Dobson and such assurances as he was given, whatever they were they a product of the fact that they anticipated trouble on the right, or was this just normal part of the people you talked to?
I think he wanted to get influential conservative leaders lined up ahead of time.
Why?
Well, because he wanted voices to come out on your show and say, I'm for her. Right?
I understand that, but did they anticipate trouble on the right, or was
this much trouble? I'm sure they anticipated some because she was so unknown.
Exactly.
But not
did they think it was going to be trouble because of alleged allegation of cronyism, or what?
I think that the cronyism they knew would come certainly from the left, if not the right, but also because she wasn't a known conservative.
Obviously, they feared social conservatives the most, which they shouldn't have.
That's all for the panel, but stay tuned to see the latest move in Al-Qaeda's new effort to win over the hearts and minds of Muslims. That's next.
Ford product engineers work hard. Anybody can see that. Since they need to be with the cars, we took out their desk phones and extended the workplace with Sprint Business. It's helping us shorten the time from concept to showroom, and it's easy to reach them. Dan? Dan's going to have to call you back. By saying yes to working from anywhere, we're building more new products faster.
With Sprint Business, you can make just about any place a workplace. Yes, you can.
Oh, man, a paper jam.
Paper jam. Get Pam. Get Pam.
I am.
We always get slammed with these paper jams.
Give it a good wham.
I couldn't find Pam, so I got Bram.
Why are we rhyming?
Guys, the presentation will be fine. We've got an easy button.
When it comes to making copies, every business has an easy button. It's called Staples. Our copy and print center can handle any job, big or small, when you need it done right.
Here's your diagram, ma'am.
Staples. That was easy. Come in and get color copies for just 39 cents now through November 12th.
Have an old 401k? How do you want to feel after you've rolled it over? That's why there's the T. Rowe Price Smart Choice Rollover IRA. All you do is tell us your retirement date, and we'll do the rest. You get a retirement fund that matches the date you choose. With investments we select and adjust over time to become more conservative as the retirement date nears. All with no loads, commissions, or sales charges. So who do you want rolling over your 401k? That one's easy. Call a T. Rowe Price rollover specialist today at 1-800-541-4540. They'll guide you every step of the way and can even open your IRA right over the phone. The Smart Choice Rollover IRA from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Request a complete prospectus or profile with investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing. Sunday at 8, a military standoff that put the world on the brink of a nuclear disaster, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now we take you inside the critical Kennedy-Castro face-off and America's dangerous confrontation in Cuba.
Join me, Ali Norris, for the next episode of War Stories on the Fox News Channel.
Fox News Channel's acclaimed series, War Stories with Oliver North, is now available on videotape. Call now, 1-800-933-0760.
Finally tonight, as we noted earlier, Al-Qaeda's number 2 man is worried that slaughtering people in Iraq hasn't helped the group's image in the Muslim world. So he has sent out the number 1 man to appeal for help for Pakistani earthquake victims.
In the spirit of giving, your friends at Al-Qaeda will be donating $1 from every jihad to Meals on Wheels. Just Al-Qaeda's way of saying, we're all in this together. And remember, kids, buckle up and hit a home run for safety. Oh, and death to America.
And that's special report for this time. Please tune in next time. And in the meantime, more news is on the way. Fair, balanced, and unafraid.